Hey guys, what's going on? It's David here from Genzio. We are in London for Zebu Live, and I am here with Joanna. Joanna, how are you doing?
Good. Yeah. I'm really happy to be here. Again, this is my second time at Cebu, and I think I did the first one in 2022. So it's like really cool to see that they're still here. The conference is growing, and it's
Yeah,
still a good vibe.
I love to hear that, because actually I just recently attended an event that I had gone to in the past, and
Yeah.
it's kind of beautiful to see the progression of it, not only for one, you enjoy it a little bit more, but also it's the grand scheme of success in the space in general that we all are after.
Yeah, exactly,
So
exactly. Yeah.
so I was going to ask how would you compare it, but I guess I already know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, you mean compare this one to the first one?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's great, as you said, to kind of see really the progression that they have
Mhm.
done. Because I remember the first conference, or like the first, yeah, conference back in 2021. I think it was the first one that they had done,
Yeah.
maybe, or the second one. It was much smaller. The venue was not as cool as this one, and much fewer people. And yeah, it's really cool to see that also. I mean, it's still the same guys doing this, right? That they're still on it. I really appreciate that, they're sticking around, they're still making sure that, this happens, and,
Yeah.
and so on. It's really a good forum also for people to come together. So yeah, I'm happy we're still here. I'm happy we're
Lovely,
still, yeah.
lovely, awesome. Well, it's like I mentioned, pleasure to meet you. Now, for our viewers at home who are listening, I would love for you to take this time to introduce what it is you're up to and kind of your role as well.
Right. Yeah. So I work as the head of legal at Trilitech. Trilitech is a development hub, effectively, or yeah, we do research development, technical development for the Tezos blockchain.
Mhm.
And I work as the head of legal. So basically, I would say we spend most of our time supporting the ecosystem growth, but also ecosystem companies at large. Yeah.
Okay, okay, nice, nice. Now, next week you'll be in Washington participating in the conference called The Future of Money, Governance, and the Law. As well as an expert roundtable organized as part of the conference, what are the main themes you'll be addressing there?
Yeah, I think we'll be focusing in Washington kind of on the same topic as we're focusing today. So,
Yeah.
discussing sort of decentralization mainly. That we will be doing today as well. We will be focusing, like on my panel, which is a little bit later today. We'll be focusing on sort of the decentralized governance and sovereignty and so on, and whether or not, like, how that's the law can fit together with regulation. And in Washington, I will be focusing on kind of that same theme.
Hmm.
And I find it like very interesting because decentralization was sort of a topic that hasn't been really addressed in regulation until kind of now, and also like
Yeah.
within like the European Union with the markets in crypto asset regulation that leaves out DeFi and basically says, or decentralization, like it addresses decentralization in a very narrow aspect. Basically saying that if somebody meets the threshold of being decentralized enough, it's not within the regulation. But whatever is decentralized enough is also decided on a case by case basis. So it
Yeah.
doesn't really give any proper guardrails.
Yeah.
And what the US is now sort of trying to impose, we have seen that with the Clarity Act, and whatever I suppose will be the final market structure bill, however that is going to look like. But I do believe that that final result is going to try to define decentralized maturity to some extent. Maybe it's not going to be exactly all the points currently within the Clarity Act, but probably something around that, which then, like in comparison to what you see within like MiCA now, kind of tries to really set sort of parameters, as I said, to what constitutes decentralized maturity, and if a project then would like reach decentralized maturity, that would mean like that main focus is on whether or not then the asset is still a security.
Yeah.
And that's also interesting because then within, for example, MiCA, you focus much more on the project. It's like we have tackled the assets already in the regulation itself. So we say, what is a stable coin and what are other tokens and so on, like that maturity exists. And so whatever is sort of left out and should to some degree still be addressed is still, in my opinion, what makes a project in itself then reach sort of that decentralization. And that, interestingly, although in the US, as I said, you kind of have these definitions of what constitutes decentralized majority, that still focuses on the digital asset itself. And that you could, of course, also have a discussion around, like, is that really also the best approach to take? Or should you rather divide that up and kind of focus on, okay, if an asset meets different sort of like criteria, if it's a stable coin and so on, that is then regulated sort of on an asset level. And then you would also have different parameters for then when a project is decentralized enough. That, in a very broad scheme, is kind of like these things that we will be talking about in Washington.
Well, it's explained very well. I mean, as I see it myself personally, being an American, right, as well as we're seeing this adoption where people are adopting decentralization slowly and slowly in different fields as well.
Yeah.
And so there will be, it sounds to me like it's going to be an event that is very, very vital to the space as well as just adoption in general.
Yeah. I certainly hope that I believe that we will at least hopefully, get to some really good discussions.
Good. Cool. Now, what are some changes we are seeing in the global regulatory landscape?
Yeah, I think a lot right now. I'm personally also happy that the US is sort of catching up right now. I think it's been interesting, to see how the Europeans were the first movers to the extent that they did put some regulation in place. That was really helpful. But then, kind of also seeing how the US is now really trying to catch up and kind of winning the race as well. You could kind of argue, there are those that argue that they're kind of now winning the race actually, and regulate, like putting more effort behind actually like putting together better regulation. And then and I really welcome that, because I suppose competition in a sense is always good, that like when the EU is looking at the US and it's like, hey, we don't want to be left behind, and then kind of pushes people.
A little bit of motivation, right?
Exactly.
And so one thing I heard recently that I think you actually are going to agree with me is, like, a company that offers marketing services, the fact is we do have other people that offer the same thing. Just as if we talk about Tezos or another exchange, there are others that do the same thing, right? And you can look at them as a competitor, but I feel like if you do look at them as a competitor, all you're doing is shooting down. I mean, like, not necessarily sabotage, but do something to maybe surpass them or hurt them or something. You're in the end shooting yourself in the foot for mass adoption, being that the space in general is at such an early stage. It might be more successful for you, maybe not in the moment because you won't get the deal or they won't get the success in the moment, but really just for the space in general to see more and more projects grow will actually help you in the long run.
Yeah. No, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Because also, I mean, I would say that the positive there is as well that if somebody sort of dares to kind of also lead and dares to sort of think about, like, if I now think about it from like a regulatory point of view, like dares to put something out there, then at least we're, opening the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, versus nobody says anything and we're just happy with what you have, and then you kind of, you stay flat. Yeah.
Wonderful. With Brexit, the UK has the opportunity to chart its own course on crypto regulation. Where does the UK currently stand compared to the EU and the US approaches? And what opportunities do you see?
Yeah, it's interesting really now to see, like, what is the UK going, like which route is the UK gonna go? So currently, I mean, we have had the Financial Securities and Market Act. And then you also have the UK regulates through financial promotions, which means effectively that they have kind of been looking at, how do crypto companies market their services, and they put sort of those compliance guardrails in place by saying that, well, you at least have to have enough disclosures if you offer some, like, a crypto asset service or anything that would fall within sort of the definition of offering crypto asset and so on. They have to have disclosures in place on your websites and things like that. And that's kind of where they have been. They're asking for feedback on like certain type of new and upcoming regulation, and like to try to understand how to regulate sort of, I suppose, in the best way going forward. They've also like made it easier to invest in ETFs and instruments like that might be, and also to like have digital assets be included in certain like investment instruments and things like that people can now invest in. So that's nice to see that they're sort of, opening up and being a little bit more open to adopting crypto, I suppose, as well, like in comparison to what they've been before.
Okay, no, that's awesome. That is awesome. Now, from your work at Trilitech and with projects like Uranium, how are these different regulatory approaches actually affecting where companies choose to establish themselves? Who's winning the race to provide clarity?
That's really interesting, kind of also to see, I suppose, like kind of where we're going. And I would say that it's like, for example, with this uranium.io, which is a project that is built on Etherlink. It's a way where uranium, the physical asset, has been tokenized, and then you can invest in actually the real world asset uranium through buying this tokenized asset. And that has then opened up a way for retail investors to just, invest directly in uranium, something that they hadn't really had access to before. Now, to be able to structure this type of project, it's been beneficial. Like the trust laws that that the UK, for example, has offer like common law system in the UK. The US also obviously has a common law system, but it's like the trust law aspect is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm talking about the UK. But and these kind of structures makes it possible to structure this kind of project. So it's really kind of like, what are you building still, and what is the best structure for you or for your project, obviously. But I also think that it is nice to see that the more, like, let's say, jurisdictions like the US is still making it, okay to also build the projects on home ground, let's say, then, you can actually, have more projects do that, and not everyone is a little bit pushed out or feels like it's more secure if we establish ourselves elsewhere. So that's also nice to see. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Looking ahead, do you see more convergence or divergence in how major jurisdictions regulate crypto? And what should projects and investors be prepping for?
I mean, okay, it depends on what you're building and so on. But kind of, be aware of that. And as we also talked about, like regulation around decentralization, governance, DeFi, it's still more and more coming. So even if you have been building in space and maybe not had too much regulatory clarity or not too much regulation applying to you, the more these things develop, the more they will apply. So it's just kind of good to keep an eye out for that.
Okay. All right. And I have one more question to ask you that I'd love to ask everyone.
Okay.
Now, obviously, in your journey that you've been through and everything you've been through in the space in general and before, what is some advice you would give to people that are interested in diving in?
I feel like just try to read and learn about it. And especially to those coming in new, like read the history.
Yeah.
That I think is still important. I mean, even if it feels like, okay, we started years ago and so on, but still, I mean, history is always important to kind of to understand where
in everything. I mean, in everything.
Exactly,
really.
exactly. And like, where did Ethereum come from, and who is specific founders and all of these kind of things. I think that remains important so that you get your holistic view. Cool.
Now, Joanna, for the people back home, where can they follow you?
So they can best follow me on LinkedIn. You can just find me just on Joanna Rindell at LinkedIn.
Cool, Joanna. Thank you so much.
Thanks.